The Constitution of India is designed to be adaptable, allowing it to change according to the evolving conditions and needs of the country. This adaptability is important because it helps the Constitution remain relevant over time. However, the process for amending the Constitution is not as simple as it is in countries like Britain, where amendments can be made relatively easily, nor is it as tough as in the United States, where the process is more complex and stringent. Instead, the Indian Constitution finds a middle ground, balancing flexibility and rigidity. The key article governing amendments to the Constitution is Article 368, found in Part XX. This article grants the Parliament the authority to make changes to the Constitution. The Parliament can amend the Constitution through various methods, such as adding new provisions, changing existing ones, or even repealing certain parts. However, there is a significant limitation. The Parliament cannot alter the basic structure of the Constitution. This concept of the basic structure was established by the Supreme Court during the famous Keswananda Bharati case in 1973. The court ruled that while Parliament has the power to amend the Constitution, it cannot change its fundamental framework and principles, often referred to as the basic structure doctrine. This doctrine ensures that certain core values and principles of the Constitution, like democracy, federalism, and the rule of law, remain protected from amendment. In summary, the Constitution of India is designed to be both flexible and firm. It provides the necessary tools for adaptation through Article 368, while also safeguarding its essential features through limitations on the powers of amendment. This thoughtful balance aims to ensure that the Constitution can evolve alongside the country while preserving its foundational principles. Such a balance is crucial in maintaining stability and continuity in governance. Procedure for amending the Constitution. The Constitution of India can be changed through a process outlined in Article 368. Here's a simple explanation of how this works. First, to start the amendment process, someone needs to introduce a bill in either of the two houses of Parliament, that is, the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. This means that state legislatures, the level of government in individual states, cannot start the process. It must begin at the national level. The bill can be introduced by a member of the government, known as a minister, or by an ordinary member of Parliament, called a private member. Interestingly, the person introducing the bill does not need to ask for permission from the President of India before doing so. Once the bill is introduced, it needs to be voted on and passed by both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. However, it is important to note that for the bill to be considered passed, it must achieve what is called a special majority. This means that more than half of the total members in each house must agree to the bill, as well as at least 2/3 of the members who are present and voting. Also, each house must approve the bill separately. If the two houses disagree on the bill, they cannot hold a joint meeting to work it out. In some cases, if the bill is proposing to change federal provisions of the Constitution, which are related to the distribution of powers between the central government and the states, it must also be approved by at least half of the state legislatures. This requires a simple majority, which means just more than half of the members present and voting in those state legislatures. After the bill has been approved by both houses of Parliament and, if necessary, ratified by the state legislatures, it is then sent to the President for approval. Unlike other laws, the President cannot refuse to sign, give assent to, the constitutional amendment bill or send it back to Parliament for more discussion. This was established by the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act, passed in 1971, which made it mandatory for the President to give assent to such bills. Once the President gives their assent, the bill officially becomes an act known as a Constitutional Amendment Act. Consequently, the Constitution is updated according to the details laid out in that act. In summary, the amendment procedure is a significant part of maintaining and updating the Constitution of India to reflect the changing needs and values of society. Article 368 of the Constitution serves as a key reference point for understanding how these crucial changes come about. Types of amendments in the Indian Constitution. In India, the Constitution is a living document that can be changed or amended as needed to reflect the needs and aspirations of the people. Article 368 of the Constitution outlines how these amendments can be made. There are three main ways to amend the Constitution, and understanding these methods is essential for grasping how India's legal and political system works. The first method of amendment is by a simple majority of Parliament. This means that if more than half of the members present in each House of Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, vote in favour of the amendment, it can be passed. This process is similar to the regular legislative reforms and is relatively easier and quicker. However, it's important to note that amendments made this way are not recognized as constitutional amendments under Article 368. Instead, they fall under other articles that allow for changes to specific provisions of the Constitution without going through the more rigorous amendment process. The second method is by a special majority of Parliament. A special majority means that a larger proportion of members in both houses must approve the amendment. Specifically, in this method, the proposal has to be supported by more than half of the total membership of each house, and it must also receive a majority of the votes from the members present and voting. This method is used for more significant changes that might affect fundamental rights or key structures within the Constitution. The third and final method is by a special majority of Parliament combined with the ratification from half of the state legislatures. This means that first, the amendment must be approved by a special majority in both houses of Parliament as outlined in the previous method. Then, after passing in Parliament, the amendment needs to receive approval from at least half of the state legislatures across India. This method is reserved for amendments that have a more profound impact on the Constitution and the structure of governance, including changes that alter the federal balance between the central and state governments. To summarize, there are three significant ways to amend the Indian Constitution: through a simple majority, a special majority, or a special majority followed by the ratification from the states. Understanding these processes is crucial for recognizing the flexibility and adaptability of the Constitution to the changing dynamics of Indian society and governance. Articles 249 and 252 also provide additional insight into how legislation can be enacted at the national level affecting states, which complements the understanding of the federal structure that the amendment process upholds. By familiarizing ourselves with these methods and their implications, we gain a better appreciation of how the Indian Constitution can evolve while also ensuring that the amendments reflect the will of the people and their representatives in both the centre and the states. Amendments to the Indian Constitution by simple majority. In India, certain changes to the Constitution can be made through a simple majority in both houses of Parliament. This means that when more than half of the members present in the houses vote in favour of the amendment, it can be passed without the need for a special procedure outlined in Article 368. Here are some key provisions that can be amended through a simple majority. One significant aspect is the admission or establishment of new states in India. For instance, if the government decides to bring a new area into the Indian Union or create a new state out of existing ones, this can be done with a simple majority vote in Parliament. Additionally, any changes regarding the formation of new states or the modification of areas, borders, or names of current states also fall under this category. This is particularly important to accommodate the needs and aspirations of different regions and communities in the country. Another major point is the creation or abolition of legislative councils in the states. Some states have a two-tier legislative system, having both an assembly and a council. Changes to this system can be made simply through a majority vote. Further, provisions regarding the emoluments, allowances, and privileges of key officials like the President of India, governors of states, speakers of the houses, and judges can also be changed by a simple majority. The quorum in Parliament, which is the minimum number of members required to conduct a meeting, can be amended easily as well. This ensures that houses can function efficiently as representatives make decisions. The rules and regulations about how the Houses of Parliament operate, including their procedures and privileges for members, can similarly be modified with a simple majority. This includes decisions about communication languages, such as the continued use of English in Parliament. The number of lower judges in the Supreme Court, known as puisne judges, can be altered by Parliament. This is essential for managing the judiciary's workload and ensuring timely justice. Other important areas that can be amended by a simple majority include provisions related to the Supreme Court's jurisdiction. Parliament can enlarge the powers and responsibilities of the Supreme Court when necessary to adapt to the changing socio-legal landscape. In terms of citizenship, provisions regarding how citizenship is acquired or terminated can also be amended through a simple majority, which is crucial given the dynamic nature of populations. Elections to both Parliament and state legislatures fall under this category too. Changes to the way these elections are conducted can influence the democratic process in significant ways. Moreover, the delimitation of constituencies, which is the process of redrawing the boundaries of electoral districts, can be addressed through this simple legislative process. This is crucial for ensuring fair representation as populations change over time. Finally, matters concerning union territories and administrative arrangements relating to the scheduled areas and scheduled tribes, as indicated in the 5th and 6th schedules of the Constitution, can also be amended with a simple majority. This ensures that the concerns and rights of various tribal communities are adequately addressed through appropriate legislative measures. In summary, a simple majority in Parliament allows for various significant changes in the governance and administrative structure of India, catering to the evolving needs of its diverse population while ensuring that democratic principles are upheld. Each amendment is crucial for maintaining the relevance and effectiveness of the Constitution in contemporary society. Amending the Indian Constitution by special majority. In India, many parts of the Constitution can be changed, but this usually requires a special way of voting in Parliament. This special voting is known as a special majority. For an amendment to be passed, it's necessary to have a majority of the total members in each House of Parliament, which consists of the Lok Sabha, House of the People, and the Rajya Sabha, Council of States. Additionally, at least two-thirds of the members present and voting in each house must support the change. When we talk about total membership, we refer to the full number of members in a house, regardless of whether some seats are empty because of vacancies or absentees. While the special majority is technically needed only during the final stage of the voting process, known as the third reading of the bill, the rules of Parliament have made it a requirement in all stages where the bill can be considered. This is done to ensure clarity and to avoid any confusion on the voting procedure. Certain sections of the Constitution that can be amended with a special majority include important principles that govern the rights and responsibilities within Indian society. For instance, this includes amendments related to fundamental rights. These rights are essential for the personal liberties of individuals. They protect citizens from discrimination and ensure equality, free speech, and protection under law. Directive principles of state policy. These principles guide the government in making policies aimed at creating a just society. They are not enforceable by law but are fundamental in the governance of the country. Other provisions, any other parts of the Constitution that do not fall into either the first category, which requires a simple majority, or the third category, which cannot be amended, can also be amended through this special majority process. The need for a special majority ensures that significant changes to the Constitution reflect broad support and consensus within Parliament. This is crucial for maintaining a stable and democratic system, as the Constitution serves as the foundational law for the country. In terms of specific constitutional provisions, Article 368 of the Indian Constitution outlines the procedure for amending the Constitution. It categorizes amendments into different types, some of which require only a simple majority, while others need a special majority, depending on the nature and significance of the amendments. For example, fundamental rights amendments need to go through this special procedure because they deal with individual liberties and the basic structure of governance. Understanding how amendments work is essential for anyone interested in Indian democracy and governance, as they create the framework within which laws are made and citizens' rights are protected. In India, the Constitution is the highest law of the land, and it can be changed or amended under certain conditions. Specifically, when it comes to changes related to the federal structure of the country, this requires a special procedure. To amend these provisions, two main criteria must be met: a special majority must be achieved in the Parliament, and the consent of at least half of the state legislatures must also be obtained using a simple majority. To clarify, a special majority means that more than half of the total members in both the Houses of Parliament must approve the amendment. Meanwhile, when we talk about a simple majority for the states, it means that more than half of the state legislative assemblies must agree to the proposal. An important point to remember is that if some states choose not to respond to the amendment bill, it does not affect the process. As soon as half of the states give their consent, the amendment can move forward. There is also no set time frame within which these states must respond to the bill. Several provisions of the Constitution can be amended using this process. One key area is the election of the President and how it is conducted. The extent of executive power held by both the union government and the state governments can also be amended. Changes can be made regarding the structure and functions of the Supreme Court and High Courts, which are vital components of India's judicial system. Additionally, the distribution of legislative powers, which defines what the central government and the state governments can legislate on, can be altered. The Goods and Services Tax (GST) Council, which is responsible for making decisions on GST, is another area that can see amendments. Furthermore, any of the lists outlined in the 7th schedule, which categorize subjects on which both the Parliament and state legislatures can make laws, can be updated. Lastly, Article 368 of the Constitution, which details how amendments can be made and the powers of Parliament in this regard, is also subject to this special majority and state consent process. Thus, the amendment mechanism reflects the collaborative nature of Indian democracy, balancing power between the central and state governments while ensuring that significant changes to the Constitution involve broad consensus. This ensures that while the Constitution remains flexible and can adapt to new needs and situations, it also requires substantial agreement among both national and state representatives. The nuanced procedure set in place safeguards the federal structure that India operates under, fostering cooperation and shared responsibility in governance. Criticism of the amendment procedure. The procedure for amending the Indian Constitution has faced various critiques from scholars and politicians. Here are some of the main arguments against it. First, critics point out that there is no special group or body, such as a constitutional convention found in the United States, dedicated to making amendments to the Constitution. In India, the power to change the Constitution is mainly held by the Parliament. While state legislatures have some limited power to propose changes, their role is not as significant as that of the American state legislatures. Second, in India, only the parliament can start the process of amending the constitution. State legislatures cannot propose amendments independently, except for one specific situation. They can pass a resolution requesting Parliament to create or abolish legislative councils in states, yet even this request can be taken or ignored by Parliament. This brings into question the level of involvement that state governments have in shaping constitutional changes, making the process seem heavily centralized. Third, the Parliament can amend most parts of the Constitution using either a simple majority or a special majority. In contrast to the United States, where 3/4 of state legislatures must agree for an amendment to pass, in India only the consent of half of the state legislatures is needed for certain alterations. This has led critics to argue that the procedure underestimates the role of states in a federal system. Another point of concern is that the Constitution lacks a strict time limit within which states must approve or reject an amendment. It is also unclear if states can change their minds after initially agreeing to an amendment. In circumstances where there is a disagreement in Parliament over an amendment, there is no provision for a joint sitting of both houses, which is different from the procedure for passing regular bills. Moreover, the procedure for amending the Constitution is somewhat similar to the process of passing ordinary legislation. Apart from needing a special majority for certain amendments, the existing procedure for constitutional amendments follows a pattern resembling that of regular bills. This similarity raises questions about the importance and significance of constitutional changes in comparison to regular laws. Many argue that the provisions related to the amendment process are vague and not elaborate. This can lead to legal disputes and interventions by the judiciary, which can add complexity to the amendment process. Despite these criticisms, it's important to note that the Indian amendment procedure has proven, in many ways, to be effective and adaptable. It strikes a balance between flexibility and rigidity, allowing for changes to be made when necessary while also safeguarding against arbitrary alterations by those in power. Prominent leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and B.R. Ambedkar advocated for this balance during the Constituent Assembly debates. Nehru emphasized that while the constitution should be stable and durable, it should also be adaptable to the nation's evolving needs. In his view, making it too rigid would hinder progress. Similarly, Ambedkar pointed out that the Assembly did not impose excessive restrictions on amending the constitution, allowing for necessary changes when the circumstances demand it. Legal scholars like K.C. Ware have recognized the diversity present in the Indian amendment process, stating that this variety is not common in other countries. Granville Austin also noted that although the amendment process may seem complicated, it is designed effectively, allowing for a range of approaches depending on the scenario. In summary, while the procedure for amending the Indian Constitution has its criticisms regarding centralization and ambiguity, it also possesses an inherent flexibility that allows it to be relevant as society progresses. The framework for amendments can be found in Articles 368 and 369 of the Indian Constitution, which outline the process and types of amendments that can be made, setting a foundation for both legislative and federal input in shaping the law of the land.